Hi everyone, it's Alexis, and today we're going to be talking about project-based learning based off of our field guide, chapters 3 through 5. So chapter 3, Imagining the Possibilities. So the most important thing to know when you're doing project-based learning is that you need a big idea. A big idea is the core concept and process of a project. So it's basically the main objective. So it's important to note that when you become a teacher, you are given a set of standards by the school district so that all classes in a certain grade level within the district will be on the same page. However, the standards and objections that are given to you by the school district are very generic and do not make room for unique learning for students, and that is where project-based learning comes in. So it's important to note that the more complex and important the idea, the better it is for project-based learning. So what is project-based learning? It's a teaching method in which students gain knowledge and skills by working for an extended period of time to investigate and respond to an authentic, engaging, and complex question, problem, or challenge. So we have to keep in mind that not all students learn the same way. So teaching them using generic methods such as reading straight through the textbook or learning through lectures by their teacher as their sole means of learning information, many students are going to get lost and they're going to lose interest in the subject. So with project-based learning, they make it more fun and unique than simple lectures. And in this case, you can use the textbooks, except they're more of an added resource than the foundations for the entire subject or project. After you figure out what your big idea or core objective is that you want your students to focus on, you have to imagine how the project is going to develop and help them develop important skills, attitudes, habits, etc. through the project. You do this by utilizing Bloom's categories of objectives. Those are creating, evaluating, analyzing, applying, understanding, and remembering, and they help you to visualize how your project can evolve from generic to interesting. With so many helpful online resources available to students, it's important that we utilize them in the classroom. The utilization of digital learning in the classroom is becoming more and more important as each new group of students entering the school system is familiar with the use of technology, and they learn best through various medias. Way more than we did when we were students. With each coming generation, the students are becoming more and more dependent on technology, so it's important to incorporate different types of medias into our learning and our teaching. Nowadays, the 6 essential learning functions listed here are related to digital age learning, and we're going to go a little bit more in depth of each of them in a moment. These basically are things to keep in mind when you're planning your own projects. So the first one is research, deep learning with experts of original works and raw data. One way you do research is by Skyping with your peers, and bouncing ideas off of one another if you can't go and be in one place together. Another way to do it is virtual tours. It's kind of like going through a museum, except you do it all online, and those are very great. I know the Smithsonian has virtual tours, which are awesome. Another way to conduct research is by using Wolfram Alpha, which is the educational search tool, kind of like Google, except when you look through this one, you will get more scholarly articles than Google does, and I definitely recommend using this one as they're a lot more credible. You make ideas visible, express ideas creatively, so you bring ideas into the open and talk about the make and meaning of them. You can do this through Google Drive. Google Docs is an excellent resource to utilize, as well as Glogster. So being able to collaborate with your peers and kind of bounce ideas off of one another. Collaboration is the next one. Your projects need to invite collaboration, and tools and services are bound to help us learn together. project management. At this point, I'm sure that most of us don't even think twice about project management. It's become just kind of a daily thing that we do. It helps students bring coherence to their project with tools to support good project management. So I'm sure many of us already use Google Docs and Google Drive for a majority of our projects, as well as I'm sure that many of us use Glogster, as well as other blogging devices, either in this course or through our other courses. I know that I have about 2 or 3 different blogs I'm running for several different courses right now. Reflection and iteration. This is one that many people need to work on, including myself. It encourages reflection and cycles of improvement. Thoughtful iterative work becomes excellent work with each revision. So I definitely have a hard time revising my work. It's something that I really should get into the habit of, but is really difficult, and Google Docs is definitely a great resource for this. You're able to go and click and see your revisions as you go along, and it timestamps them and shows what you have changed. So that's definitely a great resource to use in the future if you're not using that already. And finally, supported study or enrichment using open educational resources. It helps students tap into shared textbooks, courses, curriculum, and other personal learning options as they strike out onto their own learning path. Khan Academy is a great resource for this. I use this all throughout high school to learn math, and I also work as a tutor at a middle school right now, and I know that my students use that as well. It's videos from teachers and different educators that go over different subjects and topics, and it's a really good online tool to use. That's definitely better than YouTube. Chapter 4, Strategies for Discovery. So this is all about selecting and designing your projects. So when you're designing your projects, it's important to be a critical consumer when it comes to your class. A project that works for one class might not go over so well with yours, because after all, no 2 students learn the same. So because of this, adjustments definitely need to be made to fit the ideas and needs of your class. This is also a really good time to collaborate with your colleagues, because by reviewing your existing plans together, you can get a feel of the sort of projects that interest them. And it really opens up discussion to give critical feedback without having to critique each other's project planning efforts just yet. And of course, with every project, there are bound to be some pitfalls. So when you're going into the project, it's important to ask yourself, is my project long on activity but short on learning outcomes? Is my project layered over traditional practice? Does my project cover only trivial thematic units? Is my project overly scripted with many steps? Is my project not focused enough on formative assessment? And does the assessment of my project not feel authentic? If they answer yes to any of these questions, then it is time to go over and definitely make adjustments to make sure that they do not fall into any of these categories. And when in doubt, always remember the best projects share important features. They are loosely designed with the possibility of different learning paths, connect students with an authentic audience, or allow public sharing of what they know, center on a driving question, or are otherwise structured for inquiry, capture student interest through complex and compelling real-life or simulated experiences, are realistic and therefore cross multiple disciplines, and they reach beyond school to involve others. They also get important learning dispositions, include persistence, risk-taking, confidence, resilience, self-reflection, and cooperation. Are structured so students learn with and from each other. Call for iterative work with cycles of feedback, reflection, and revision. Get at digital age skills and literacies, including communication, project management, and technology use, and have students learn by doing. And when your project covers all of these bases, they cover all of the types of learning, which include visual, verbal, and physical. And once you've covered all those bases, every student in the class should be able to understand the subject at hand. Chapter 5, Making Assessment Meaningful. So once again, we come back to the question, what is project-based learning? Well, it's personal learning that requires deliberate planning, and each PBL project should allow for students to approach their learning experience in a unique way. So during projects, students should be able to go through a progression of activities, questions, investigating and making sense of what they discover. They should ask more questions and do more research until they finally emerge with a new sense of understanding. In order to do this, you need to look over the two types of assessment in PBL, assessment for learning and assessment of learning. So assessment for learning is also known as formative assessment and lets you tap into students' thinking so that you can adjust the project, address misunderstanding, or guide effort in new directions. You do this while the project is still going on. And assessment of learning, which is summative assessment, and it lets teachers assess students' learning at the end of a project so they can adjust the project to be better next time. So it's important to remember that every experience can be a learning experience, and even if things don't go so well the first time, you always have time to go ahead and tweak it and make adjustments and make it even better for the next year. So yeah, that's my learning of project-based learning. I got most of my information from the field guide. I hope that you all enjoyed this and have a nice day.